And go ahead and get started with our third Communications Lunch and Learn. Fun topic today about digital presence and how any of our churches can improve our digital presence, make that first impression. Before we get started, I do want to introduce myself if I haven't gotten to know you yet. I'm Pam Hughes. I'm Communications Director at the conference. Today I'm in the Plano office. And then also on the Zoom today, we have Trey West, who is our communications associate. So if you interact with us at all on email or social media, it's probably Trey. And then also on our team is Dustin Capps, and he is taking a well-deserved couple days of PTO here ahead of Thanksgiving, but he did contribute to today's program as well. Yeah, so today we're going to talk through digital media presence for churches, and anywhere we've put churches, feel free to sub in ministry if that applies more to your context. But what we have ahead of us today, we're going to talk a little bit about the why. Why does this matter? Our digital front door. And then really take a deep dive into three specific areas that we all have access to. So our websites, Google business profiles, and social media platforms, as well as then some tools and resources to do this well. And we want to make sure to save time at the end for Q&A. That said, as we're going through each of the sections, if you have a question that is like very specifically website, for example, feel free to drop a question in the chat and we'll be able to answer as we're going to. But yeah, I want to get us started kind of framing why. Why do we put all this energy into, sometimes I say the online world isn't even real. What are we doing with all this time and resources into virtual world? But it is important. Our digital presence, it's nice to think of it like our front door. That's what we have here. So just like the front door of our churches and our walk up to that door, we want to make sure that it's welcoming, that it's inviting, that it's easy to access and to get through our front door, because for most of our folks, you probably know this better than we do, people are checking us out online before they're ever showing up at our physical front door at this point. So it's almost more important that your digital walkway is clean, safe, and approachable. Still take care of the front door of your actual church, but we want to make sure that we're taking care in the digital space as well. When people are searching for us online, yes, they're looking for a church in their neighborhood, but they're also looking for hope and connection and community and all that the church has to offer. So we'll talk today about how we can make sure that that is, front and center for them, and that everything we're doing really online is pointing to our credibility, the fact that folks can trust us in their community, and that we're accessible. So when we're thinking about these front doors, again, we're going to be talking about our website, our Google business profile, because Google is, our leading search engine. It's right there at the top when people are looking for things, whether it's on a map or on the Google homepage. And then also our social media pages. So how we're appearing any of these front doors that folks might be showing up to. So digging first into church websites, and you're talking to a team who is in the thick of rebuilding, revamping a whole conference website. So first, I just want to set the stage that we can empathize that there is a lot of content on most of our websites. So if you are daunted by what's in front of you, we feel for you. But wanted to highlight kind of the W's of the church website. You may be familiar with the 5 W's of news writing. I think there's really just 3 when it comes to our church websites, though. So making sure we put ourselves in the seat of someone who may be looking for your church online. They're going to want to know where you're located. How do I get to you? They want to know when you gather. So that might be more than likely your worship services, but also the other events that may bring people to your church. But when is that happening? And they want to know who you are. And that's true at a couple different levels. And we'll take a look at some websites here in a few. But at a minimum, they want to know, like, who am I going to show up and see, both meaning the pastor, but also the people in the pews. And as silly as it may sound, they want to know what the outside of your building looks like so that they know they've pulled up to the right place. So that's part of who are you as well, is am I at the right building? And we want to make it very easy to find on our church websites. So using a menu navigation, honestly, the simpler the better. So having very simple, about us, making it clear that that's where people can get the answer to that. Who are you? A connect or events so that they know when you gather, a contact so that they know where you're located. Sometimes it can be tempting to use cuter or more innovative menu titles, really keeping it simple as if this person has never interacted with your church or ministry before is truly more helpful. In terms of what we've got on the website, some other best practices and things to keep in mind. The first is keeping your information evergreen or current. And there's a couple different approaches here. I know we've gotten to talk with a handful of churches about ideas for their websites. And I tend to lean towards the more conservative, like let's bite off what we can chew. And so sometimes I'll use the phrase of, at the very least, having a digital brochure, something that has that always true information about where you are, when you gather, and who you are, before we start taking on things like a pastor's blog. That may be something that is a fun addition, so long as there's a system to keep it up to date. Or even something like an upcoming event section is really good, as long as someone has the keys to keep updating those upcoming events. Because going back to that idea of, our space online is reinforcing our credibility, our trustworthiness. If someone lands on a page with upcoming events and it's still highlighting Easter, then what it's signaling to people is this isn't a church that's thriving. This is not a church that has any sort of vitality. This is not a church where I'm going. So bite off what you can chew. If, taking an assessment, you say, we've got a part-time person who has 7 other hats they're wearing and they're going to manage the website. That is completely fine. And so there I would lean more into keeping your information evergreen as opposed to stressing over keeping it current. The second piece here is making your copy scannable. Love it or hate it, people don't read. And so making it easy, bullet points, what we've done here on the slide even of bolding the important words, putting things into headers and subheads so that it is easy at a glance to find what you're looking for. Of course, there are exceptions. Your pastor may have a bio on the website. That's fine to have some good blocks of text, but when in doubt, make it scannable and easy to just glimpse and get the gist. This is one of my favorite points. It also raises a lot of really good questions, but whenever possible, use real photos of your people. That's part of that question of as people are taking a look and they want to know who you are, it's both your leadership and your staff, but also who you are as the church. And so they do want to see, what people are wearing in a picture. Does it look like a sort of church where I think I'm going to fit? And this is where one of those questions comes up of who we aspire to be versus who we have on Sunday morning may be different, which is a very fair question. I would still lean towards real people, even if they are cropped in as opposed to stock images. People can sniff out a stock image. There are questions of waivers when it comes to showing kids. I think many of our churches approach this in different ways. Whatever works for your church, please do. I know I go to First Richardson. We have waivers, I think, built into just about every event that our kids are at so that we're able to take care of children who can't be shown. But the assumption is that we can take pictures and then share those. But wherever possible, to be showcasing your real people in action is always more powerful than a stock image, and definitely than an empty sanctuary. Trey has heard me talk about this before. It's one of my soapboxes. It's kind of like the upcoming events page that still talks about Easter. If we're putting up a picture of an empty sanctuary, it tells me no one's in there. So it's easier to get pictures when no one's in it, but it's not as powerful. And then the last piece here is to check accessibility. So just like we would check the accessibility of our physical front door, take a look at what your website looks like on mobile. We know, about half users are searching on their phone instead of on their laptop. So just see every once in a while what that's looking like. We also have a very engaged disability ministries group within the conference. If you ever have any questions about, hey, is this accessible for folks who may have vision impairment? Is this accessible, not under disability ministries, but under more diversity and cultural engagement? Is this accessible to folks across languages and contexts? We are happy to help and lend assistance where we can there. But just making sure that your website is meeting the needs of the folks who may be trying to use it. So a couple tools, if you're saying, Pam, this is wonderful. We don't have a website. We know we should have one, but we don't, either have budget. We don't know where to start. Two that I want to highlight. The first is as a function of being a United Methodist Church, we're part of a connection. The General Council on Finance and Administration actually does website design for UMC churches and ministries. So if you are starting from scratch, they are a fantastic group to work with. They'll build out, it's a customized Wix website. I want to say it's around 5 pages the last time I checked in with them, but it's a multi-page website. They are able to connect to various e-giving solutions. So if you're already using something, more than likely they can work with you on that to get it all connected. They've got folks who are making sure that it is optimized for search engines so that your people who are looking for, church in fill in the blank city, Texas, they'll help make sure that you're showing up in the results. It's not a free service, but it is a minimal investment. We did not want to quote their prices for them here, but instead we've got the website where you can get in touch to talk with them more about what you might need. But always want to highlight where we have things like this coming from the connection. And of course,
Pam,
yeah.
this is Larry Adams. We're going through GCFA, and the cost is $750, which is very reasonable for a website.
Perfect. Thank you for chiming in with that. And the second resource I'd lift up, this is one where if you want to build it yourself, this is actually what the conference is using right now for our kind of in-between HTC website. So we've been on a Squarespace site for about a year. And I'm speaking as someone who knows next to no coding. I know just enough to embed a YouTube video, which Squarespace has been perfect for. So we would recommend it if you've got, like I said, someone who's wearing many hats and trying to manage the website. Squarespace is all drag and drop. It has, pre-created templates. A lot of them are kind of artsy. Squarespace does great to serve photographers and artists, but they do have good organization-focused templates as well that are proven to do what websites need to do. They're nice as well. If you don't already have a domain, you can do your hosting and design all in one spot. They make that very easy. And they provide basic analytics on the back end. So you can see, are people landing on our website? Where are they coming from? What pages are they using? All of that is baked in as well. Again, this is not to say there aren't other tools out there. This is just one that we're very familiar with right now inside the conference office. We're building the new site right now on WordPress, so maybe we'll have some additions a year from now to share. But yeah, these are two that have served folks well in our conference. I do want to take a minute to look at a couple of our church websites that stood out for me. And I don't know if we have anyone from these churches on the call, but if we do, perfect. Are y'all seeing First DeSoto up on your screen? Excellent. So if we have anyone from First DeSoto, props to you on your website. This is a good, simple church website. And so wanted to highlight some things that we especially liked on this one. So a good, easy menu bar up here across the top with that about us, who we are, just making it very clear for visitors. Love that we have the exterior of the building, really easy to find. So if people are searching and they're in your community, this way they'll know, yes, I've seen that church before, can picture how to get there. Now you see here, we have used some stock pictures. That's all right, I'm gonna give a pass. We would never call a church out for something, but this would be a spot where as more photos are available, an easy spot to swap in a picture from a recent event to the upcoming events. And then love that here right on the homepage, that easy, where are you? And the when do you gather, that we have their Sunday schedule right there and actually would appear on every page of the website since it's in the footer, that we would know 9 a.m. I can show up for Sunday school, 10:30 for worship. So this is a really good, simple, it's not too many pages here to try to maintain and keep up with. Divided their ministries really by age group and then United Women in Faith. So a really manageable and accessible, helpful website. And then a second one we would spotlight today is First Georgetown. So this one is a little bit broader, heftier. If you've already got a base website, but you're like, what are some other things out there that may be helpful to include? Oh, I apologize. I shouldn't have clicked there. Here we go. Back to the website. They have, and a lot of our churches have this. Very nice to just have called out a new here menu item that if you've never been to the church, just getting all the information on one spot. So it's very welcoming. It gives, for Georgetown, information about 3 different services, what you could expect at each of these, as well as when they meet and where, who they are from a belief standpoint. If you need any help with that language, we are always happy to help there. I hope all of our churches know who they are. And then breaking out as well kind of what exists for different life stages and different interest areas with some of these great frequently asked questions. So good job, Georgetown. Other items from their homepage. So this is one where there's more of the keeping things up to date regularly. So this is great if you have someone who can commit to part of their job being keep things updated on the website. So being able to highlight what's coming up for Advent, the current sermon series, but then some of this evergreen information again of when the services are, more of the I'm new and who we are. And then down here, it looks, and I don't know if we have anyone from Georgetown, but this strikes me as something that probably auto-populates the upcoming events. And so that's nice too, where when you're choosing a website platform, making the technology do some of the work for you is always a great solution, that if it can pull in the upcoming events, then you don't have to. So those are just 2 examples. We have countless websites across the conference, lots of our churches who are doing things well, but wanted to show kind of 2 different scales there, that you don't have to have a 20-page website to have a good, useful website. And I do see in the chat now, the calendar, an important place to have access to. Yes, I think that's important. I think that goes to that question of when do you gather? So worship is probably the first thing people think of, but other events that you have going on during the week would make that easily accessible. So either upcoming events, calendar, something that people would know to click on up there at the top. Very good. Well, I'll turn it over to Trey for the next portion.
Thanks, Pam. Hi, everyone. Glad to be here with you today. Some of the stuff we'll talk about in the next segment will be repeats of some of the strategic things you've heard from Pam, but some of it will be new and different and pertinent just to the Google business profiles and the social media platforms that we'll talk about. But I'm going to do the same as Pam and jump into sharing my screen. We're going to talk next about Google business profiles. Google business profiles, because everyone see that? You just have not. Excellent. Perfect. Google business profiles. They're probably one of the most important and most overlooked tools for churches. The Google business profile, it's free. It's easy to manage, and it's probably the most powerful visibility tool that your church can have. I say that because when someone searches for your church, and there's a reason that Google is a company that has become a verb, most likely they are Googling your church. When they search or even just search for church near me, your Google business profile is the very first thing that appears to them. So it's really important that you harness that. A lot of you have a Google business profile for your church without even realizing it. So we're going to talk a little bit about how you make sure that you can gain ownership of that. There's a few best practices that every church should prioritize. First is what I just said, making sure that your church has claimed and or verified your profile. You can do that at google.com/business. You'll have to have a Google account, whether it's your personal one or whether you create one for the church. But you go to google.com/business, and that's the first place you'll go to claim, and then you'll go through a process of verifying that you actually own that business. Next, you'll want to double check once you've gotten access to and claimed and verified your profile. You're going to want to double check all of your basic information. That will include your address. You can add office hours as well as worship times. You'll include your contact info. And if you have a website like what Pam just talked about, you can link that to your Google Business Profile as well. But you're going to make sure that you're checking all of that it's accurate, that it's up to date. Photos, add lots of photos, lots and lots of photos. Just like anything else, Google Business Profile is in and of itself kind of a website/social media platform. And when someone goes and searches for your church, if they click images at the top, those photos are the first things that are going to populate. So you're going to want to have lots of photos and realize that they need to be clear, friendly images of your building, just like Pam talked about. You're going to want images of your congregation, your ministries. These images will instantly tell a story of who you are as a church, whether you are vibrant and active or whether the one photo you've uploaded is from 20 years ago. So make sure you're adding lots of photos, lots of photos. You can also post updates. A lot of people don't realize that Google Business Profile allows for updates to be posted. You can post things like upcoming events, sermon series. All of us probably have Advent and Christmas events coming up. Those are things that can be added into updates. Lenten studies. Every one of us has a VBS. That's another place that those items, those events can live to make sure that people are seeing it when they search for your church or churches in your area. It also helps keep your profile active, and that signals to Google that your church is engaged and makes Google want to show your church. Google doesn't want to push to the top of their search engine a dead end. So if you're willing to post updates and photos, all of those things tell Google this is an active, vibrant congregation that we want to show to people so that they know that they're still engaged. Big one, encourage your members to leave reviews. One of the Google profiles of a church I'll show in just a minute. It's actually the church where I worship, and we have a once a year campaign where we just encourage our church members to go and leave reviews. We don't tell them it needs to be a 5-star review, but we hope it is. But when people are leaving your reviews, that also signals to Google people are going here. And if they're leaving, hopefully, those 5-star reviews, people are going here and they enjoy being here, which is going to want to make Google show your church even more, increase your search visibility. And it does it more than almost anything else will, those reviews. And finally, remember to update your seasonal and holiday hours. This helps people know when you're gathering, especially around Christmas and Easter, around weather closures. And remember, you can also use those updates I talked about earlier to post those special worship services and times. And like I said, you can do that, and I'll show you a second. Actually, let me just go ahead and show you. We'll look at let me pull Zoom back up. And I'll switch to where we're looking at the Google Business Profile for the conference first. We just actually recently got this set up. Great. So this is the Google Business Profile. You can see right at the top, I just searched Horizon Texas Conference UMC. The first thing that populates is our website because we have an established website. Over here on the right is the actual Google Business Profile. So you see right there, it shows some pictures actually of the outside of the Fort Worth office because that is our primary office right now, or moving forward it will be. It shows a few pictures of the outside. It shows that I can link straight to Google Maps, and it shows me our address, the outside of our building with the 360 view. I can, immediately, if I'm signed into my Google profile, get directions, all that sort of stuff. So that's the first things that it shows. It shows the reviews we've gotten already. We don't make a big push at the conference for Google reviews because that isn't something that we deem necessary for us specifically. But it is something, and I'll show you Sun Creek's here in a second. But we've got our website connected to it. People can instantly click for directions, go look at the reviews. They can call. We have our up-to-date address, phone, up-to-date office hours listed, and then just a little bit of a description, which is our mission statement for the Horizon Texas Conference, as well as our linked social media platforms as well. We'll talk a little bit about the importance of cross-linking later. Let's look at Sun Creek's because this is a little bit more specific to the local church. So this is Sun Creek United Methodist. It's a church in Allen, Texas. Again, search Sun Creek United Methodist Church. First thing that populates because they have an established website. It's right there. But over here to the right, their Google profile, you can see, just like Pam was talking about, the importance of the outside of the building that creates recognition so that people know if they've searched ahead of time and researched into what Sun Creek is and what it looks like. They know when they're arriving at the church, if they come visit, okay, I'm in the right spot. There's the link to maps as well. Sun Creek has a Wikipedia page, and Google directly links that. If any organization does have a Wikipedia page, that shows up along with the contact information. And here's what I wanted to show you about the hours. Sun Creek has their office hours listed, but if you click, and this is just one thing they chose to do, you can add your online service hours. Now, it's going to show all of the other days along with that because that's just the way Google auto-populates it. But that tells people, okay, I can worship with them online between 9 and 12 on Sunday morning. You can also list special times in there as well when you have special worship services. And I'm sure as we get closer to Christmas, they'll list those as well. But that's where you can add those various hours and times that your church is open or you're having special worship services. You can see, like I said, we have about 72 Google reviews. We started it about 3 years ago, getting our church members to go in and leave those reviews. Those reviews are important because as people see it, well, I'll just show you in a second a different one. That's a fun one. But it'll also show our social media profiles, like I said, that are linked. And here's our little description at the bottom. People also search for is an auto-populated thing by Google. We can't do anything about that. You can't do anything, but you can see it's automatically showing other churches that are United Methodist in and around Allen and Plano. And that's important to point out because if someone you're a church in Dallas proper, the first two churches that are probably going to pop up in Dallas proper are First United Methodist Church, Dallas, and Highland Park United Methodist. They're the two largest, and they have a great digital presence. But as they're searching at that, they're looking at, say, Highland Park's here on the side. They scroll down. If you're a church in Dallas, they might see you here, and that automatically connects them to the other ones. So having that enhanced Google business profile, even if you're not the largest church in your community, even if you're not the most active online, you're just starting out, beginning that automatically connects you to those other churches that have that larger digital presence. So you are amplified simply by being connected to them. I want to show you real quick just a fun one. This is Skyrocket Burger. If you've never heard of Skyrocket Burger, it's a delicious burger place, a local joint in and around Dallas. It's close to the Plano offices. In fact, Pam and I couldn't go to Skyrocket today with several staff members because we're leading this webinar, but it's a frequent Plano office staff lunch place. When you search Skyrocket Burger, it brings up, there's lots of locations, Frisco, down into Dallas, over across, and even other burger places. So it doesn't auto-populate the Google business profile. But as soon as I go here and see, oh, that's the closest one to me, I click it, then it brings it up for me. And you can see Skyrocket Burger is a hole-in-the-wall burger place. I mean, genuinely, the staff that went today went at 11 o'clock to get there right when they opened because they wanted to make sure there were enough seats because it can't seat more than 30 people in the whole restaurant. Yet they have over 2,000 reviews, 4.8 stars, 704 plus photos. That's sort of what I'm talking about. Even as you're starting out growing your Google business profile, the more you stay active in it, the more that you appeal to people, the more that it's going to generate hits on Google. So we have an idea of where we started, and then we can look at Skyrocket Burger as sort of our reach goal of what to attain as our individual churches. And I'm learning right now, looking at this, that Skyrocket has a Facebook and Instagram because I didn't even know that. but that's just sort of a fun thing. All right, so this is what the conference page looks like on our Google Business Profile from your view as a searcher. Right here is what it looks like. Whenever you claim or verify your account, this is what your actual page will look like on the editing end. So you can see once you've claimed and verified it, it still shows you the profile here on the right. Right here on the left on the main part, this is what will not be seen by people who don't own it. But that's where you can edit your profile. You can respond to reviews. Another great way is to respond to reviews. Even if someone just leaves you 5 stars and says, "Great church," responding and saying, "Thank you so much. We're glad you visited us." That goes a long way, not only in speaking to the person who visited your church, but also in other people seeing that you are staying engaged. I think I saw someone, how do you add photos? Right here. Once you claim and verify it, you can click here to both view all your photos that have been added. And I'll say this one was added of the CTC office 6 years ago by someone I don't know. So when someone adds a photo to Google, their Google, and says that they were there, it automatically makes it a part of your Google Business Profile as well. So encouraging church members to take photos and add them is another great way to get photos added. But right here on the initial page, these are pictures that we've just added ourselves, and that'll continue to grow over time. You can add a logo, you can add a cover photo, just like most other social platforms. But that's where you'll do that, just the add photos button right there. And then you can upload them like normal. This is what I was talking about with posts, where you can give updates, posts, upcoming events, all sorts of things happening. And those will generate within your Google Business Profile. You can analyze performance. You can do advertising. There's a slew of options on here. We don't have enough time to get into all of them, but there's some other resources I'll give you at the end that will give information about all of those as well. So yeah, Google Business Profiles, I highly encourage it. It is probably, even before your website or Facebook, the actual front door of your church, where people are really seeing who you are, literally where you are, and if you're an active, vibrant congregation. And the more you interact with this, the more likely it is that Google's going to want to push your website to the top as well, on those generic searches like church near me. So Google Business Profile is a really important thing to have and to keep up to date. So next I want to talk about our social media platforms. I don't know if any of you were able to join us last month. We had a few local church communicators join us for our social media strategies webinar, which was great. I'll have a link at the end for us. If you didn't get to be a part of that, I highly encourage it. They gave some really great strategies and information. But we want to make sure we talk just about our social media platforms and before we get into strategy, the actual presence of them, creating them. So the three main ones we're going to talk about are Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. These are going to be the platforms where you see the most exposure and interactions. Other social media platforms like TikTok, Threads, Twitter/X, those are really good platforms. Those are going to be ones you lean more towards if you have a dedicated social media person on staff. And I don't even mean dedicated comms person, someone who wears those 8, 9, 10 different hats. If you have a dedicated social media person, that's when you'll start wanting to explore TikTok and Threads specifically. Otherwise, the effort to keep those platforms updated most likely isn't worth the possible return of what you would be getting back from it. So we're going to talk about Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube today. Facebook, this is everyone on this call knows what Facebook is. I feel pretty confident, safe in saying that. It's still the most widely used platform for church members, especially adults over the age of 35. One of my research said adults over 30, and I just editorialized and said I'm gonna change that to 35 because it is an aging platform as well. So most of your adults over 35 are on Facebook. That's where you're going to get the best interactions with them. With Facebook, the key things you're going to want to make sure your about section, and I'll show you all of this on a church Facebook page in just a minute. Make sure your about section and your content, your contact information are accurate and up to date. Google is the top place where people will go to search for you or a church in their area. Facebook is the second most likely. So you want to be as visible and as accessible as possible with both of these platforms. Instagram is great for visual storytelling. This is where you can show real people, real ministry moments, the life of your congregation, all that stuff Pam was talking about, using real photos rather than stock. Instagram is a great place to store those to show that you're an active, vibrant congregation. Through posts, you can share major milestones and moments in the life of your church. Through Instagram stories, you can share real-time happenings, as well as event information, graphics, and links. It's also going to be where you're more likely to reach those under 35 adults, and even teenagers are still on Instagram for now. We'll see what happens next year. But that's where you're really going to reach your under 35 crowd. Once upon a time, YouTube was just a platform to watch videos online. I remember I was in college when YouTube really started taking off, and it was just a place we went to watch cat videos. That was the only place you could do it, and everyone did it. But YouTube has done a really good job of shifting their model to be much more than that. It's now a social media platform with both horizontal and vertical video formats. So you're seeing, I guess the best example I can give, I've talked with Pam about this before. There's this new thing called YouTube Shorts, and it's geared specifically towards the younger generation watching videos on their phone. And I found out about it through my 12-year-old and 16-year-old nephews. They were the first ones who told me, a social media strategist, about YouTube Shorts. So YouTube has done a really good job of adjusting their format for both horizontal, which is traditional video format, as well as vertical video format, which is better for phones. It's a search engine that can be linked to all of your other platforms that we've talked about. And most essentially, it can serve as an archive for your church's videos. If you're not already doing it, it's really essential. If you are recording your worship service and are streaming your worship service, for you to post those worship live streams and those sermons on YouTube. Even if that's not where you originally go, YouTube is the most active video platform. So even if it's not where you're streaming to, you should still be repurposing it to YouTube. YouTube is also continuing to innovate their model to mirror all of those other social platforms more and more. So really in the next probably 1, 2, 3 years, YouTube is going to evolve into its own form of Facebook. We're mostly waiting to see them allow a little bit more profile to profile interaction. That's one of the main things they're missing right now. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see that in the next couple of years. Some best practices. Make sure for all of these. So that was Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. These are some best practices and priorities that will work for all three of those platforms. Make sure that your profile picture and your cover photo are up to date. Your profile picture can be a logo. That's not a problem. We do that at the conference. A lot of churches do that, and it creates brand recognition. Just make sure you don't let it be like one church I saw where the cover photo was a picture of their pastor preaching, but that pastor had been reappointed 5 years prior. That's going to be the thing you want to avoid. Also, sermon series graphics make great cover photos. That shows something you're doing relevant right now if you make those sermon series graphics. It's something a lot of churches do with success. Make sure you're posting regularly. There is no secret model that's perfect. And anyone who tries to sell you that this is the way you do it and this is the only way you do it is selling you snake oil. There's no perfect model, but what I can tell you is consistency is always more important than frequency. If you can post 1 to 2 times a week and you can do it every week, that is better than struggling to come up with a post every single day. The consistency of it is the key, more so than the frequency. The only thing I'll say is, in my experience, it's best to avoid trying to post more than once a day. Facebook's algorithm doesn't push both of those posts to the top of people's news feeds. Typically, it's one or the other, and more often it's if one's more interactive or one's more recent. So if you're posting more than once a day, something's going to get lost in the noise of all of the different things being shared to Facebook. But most important, consistency is much, much greater and more important than frequency. I don't think we can say it enough, but I'll go ahead and say it again. Real people, Pam said it, I said it, real people, real people, real people. There is a place for stock images. I'm not saying that stock images are bad and off limits. There's a time and a place. But more than anywhere else we've talked about, social media is not that place. If you're posting a stock image, like Pam said earlier, people can see it, people can recognize it, especially this day and age, and it comes across as insincere. So having those real people posts, those opportunities to show your actual congregation, that's going to be best, especially on Instagram. You can post graphics. It's just, there's nothing wrong with posting graphics. Just approach it with the mindset that you're not going to get as much interaction as when you post a picture with a real person. A graphic is a great informative tool, and you should share those graphics. Just know you're going to get half to 25% of the interactions as you would with a post featuring a real person. Focus on engagement. That should be your number one thing. That's why we post to social media. We want to share stories that lead people to like it or love it. We want to ask questions that lead to comments and responses. When you ask a question in the copy of a social media post, encouraging people to leave their responses in their comments. Not only does that show interaction from them with you and you back with them when you interact with those comments, but it also populates it into other people's feed to hopefully then comment their responses. So ask those questions that lead to those comments and those responses. Celebrate volunteers that lead to shares. Shares on Facebook and Instagram just recently introduced a repost feature where you can do a similar thing. That just exposes it to a wider audience. If I individually, personally share something from my church, Sun Creek, there's a lot of people that follow me that don't follow Sun Creek that will then see that post. So it's important that we're providing content that focuses on engagement. Try to keep your tone warm and invitational and conversational. Try not to sound like an entity. Try to sound like a person. And then avoid insider language. If you have something, for example, at Sun Creek again, we have something called Scummy. It's Sun Creek United Methodist Youth. Scummy is not something I would ever want to post on Facebook without proper context, because that is you need context or it sounds extra weird. So just avoid that insider language. And if it's something you need to use like an acronym, just make sure you're always including the breakdown of the acronym and clarifying that as well. And finally, I've said it a couple times, but can't stress enough, cross-link everything. You saw it on the Google Business Profile for the conference. We have all of our social media platforms cross-linked. On our website, we have all of our social media. Your website should link to your social pages. Your social pages should link back to your website. The goal is to make it as easy as possible for people to find you wherever they look, and then to make it even easier for them to find out more about you once they found you. Cross-linking will do that. I'm going to pause super quick and look at this troubleshooting question. I see the editing options for our church's Google Business Profile when I am logged into my own Google account. We do not have the editing options when we log into the church's Google account. Any suggestions? Yeah, so Diane, if you through the church's Google account, they'll go to google.com/business. In fact, let me see if I can. I'm going off script here, so if this fails, just forgive me. But let's see right here. Can y'all see that screen? There we go. So if I go here, sorry, the Zoom thing popped up in my way. So if I go right here, go to google.com/business. When I go to sign in, I'm not going to sign in right now, but let's just see what happens. Yeah, so I can't do that. But when I go to google.com, I'll click sign in. You can click sign in with your church's Google account. And the next page is for you to actually search for the business. So let's say I'm signed in as Sun Creek UMC, and then I go and I search Sun Creek UMC for the business profile. It'll allow me to request authorization. And so, Diane, you have editing options for your Google business profile for your church. When they request access, an email will come to your Google account, your Gmail account, allowing them to have access. So since you already have that access, you can grant access to other people. But it all starts right here on google.com/business. That's where you can request access. You can start one if your church doesn't have one at all. It all starts from right there, requesting and creating. And then let's see, we got another question. And if Diane, if that didn't answer your question, please let me know. Cindy Doherty, do you recommend private website and or Facebook pages for members? I think, Cindy, if you don't, I need a little clarification on the question. Do you mean like individually? Um, if it's for the organization, no, I don't ever make anything private in terms of webs. Oh, wait, hold on. Do you mean like a back end of the website? Like a church member can log in, like you can plug Shelby into your website, but make it a login?
I'm not sure exactly but we have a public Facebook page that has not been updated, and then we have a private Facebook page, and it started out as like a prayer group and page, but then it kind of morphed into other comments and
Yeah.
became more of the activities and things that really should be on a public page. And so we're we are a new church. We are the merged church of Cogdell United Methodist and Lakeshore. So we're starting fresh.
Yeah.
And so we're looking for all those kind of things. Is that something we want to do, or do you want to log in? And so that may be an offline question that we might follow up with you if it's not good for the group.
No, I think it's good. That was perfect clarification. Thank you for that. I think
Uh-huh.
what we're talking about is the difference most likely between a Facebook page and a Facebook group. Facebook pages are always public facing. They're entities in and of themselves, just like our Google business profile or our website. But we can also have groups which are private, where people have to request access to it. And a lot of churches do that as well. Churches will have their public facing Facebook page with all of their external information that they can post. And then the group itself is something where people can share more private information, prayer requests, happenings within the church, things like that. I don't think I recommend one or I don't recommend necessarily having a group. I don't not recommend having a group. It just matters if it fits the church membership. There's nothing wrong with having a group, but I do definitely recommend always having the public facing side. That's where people are going to see. In a private group, if I'm not a member of the group, I can't see any of that information. It's good to share internally, but you're going to want to make sure to have that external facing page as well. Excellent. All right. Let's look real quick, very, very quickly at a Facebook page for let's actually look at FUMC Richardson. It's a really good one. Paige Hughes, no relation to Pam. Paige Hughes was our on our panel in what is it, October, for our social media strategies, and so that'll be a good follow-up. You can see here they have a very vibrant, very active Facebook page, external picture of the building, their logo there for brand recognition. Right here on their intro, they have their, I'm guessing, and Pam can correct me if I'm wrong, what looks to be their mission statement or their vision statement. They have listed as a page as a Methodist church on Facebook. Their address, all of this is immediately and easily available. They've got lots of great pictures of recent activities there at the church, as well as a video they used from their live stream. Right here is the about that I was talking about earlier. This is where you're going to go and make sure that all of your contact and basic information is up to date, including a mapped reference to your location, church's phone number, church's email, church's website. You can link your Instagram there as well. You can link other social media as well. Shows reviews, just like the Google business profile. This is where you're going to want to make sure that you're keeping everything really up to date. Again, Google and Facebook are the two top searches for finding you, you and your organization. So you want to make sure that all of this stays up to date there as well. I was going to show you a little bit more, but I want to make sure that we have time for everything. So let's really, really quickly just touch on some tools and resources that we have for you. You've heard me mention it a couple times. Canva is an incredibly valuable resource. It's one of my soapbox items. There's a link to that as well. You'll want to be using Canva. I'll talk about a little bit more about that in a second. Google Analytics is a fantastic way to help you understand how people are finding your website and what they're looking for. And then Meta Business Suite, if you're not familiar, Meta is the parent company of Facebook and Instagram. I have, and any social media strategist will tell you, I have a love-hate relationship with Meta. There's times where it's really great, and there's times where I want to become Ron Burgundy, throw my laptop into the woods, and go and never look at Meta again. But it is a great, easy way for you to schedule posts to both Facebook and Instagram in one place, and that can save you a lot of time. So those are three really valuable resources, tools I want to make sure you know. Important resources, not to self-promote for the conference, but we do have Canva for Churches was our lunch and learn in September. Social media strategies was our lunch and learn in October. I keep thinking it's December. I'm moving into December in my head. In October, we had social media strategies for churches. Google for nonprofits is an excellent thing you should be aware of. Google for nonprofits, if you're creating that Google business profile, Google for Nonprofits will give you a free Google Suite with multiple users that you can use for everyone in your church. I wish I could talk a little bit more about that, maybe a future one, but that link is there as well. And then United Methodist Communications, our big tent church denomination, has a lot of really great digital resources, and that's linked there as well. I want to talk very, very quickly about Canva for Churches and then Canva for Churches resource list. Canva for Churches was our lunch and learn. Canva for Nonprofits is also free. It's a great graphic design resource that you should all be aware of. And when you're a nonprofit, which all of us are as churches and ministries, you can get access to that for free. So make sure you learn a little bit more about that. And you can do that by clicking our Canva for Churches resource list. And I'll just go ahead and put in the chat right here. I'll do it while Pam's talking. I'll put a link to that resource list. It's got a link to Canva for Nonprofits as well as Canva School and some other things to help you learn a little bit more about Canva. Canva is one of my really, really big soapboxes that I want to make sure every church knows about because it's made graphic design more accessible than ever. But we'll make sure all of these resources and this PowerPoint is available to you so you can have those links and all that information as well. But now I will turn it back over to Pam to lead our Q&A.
Yeah, I've got to give us a pat on the back. We've been doing a good job, I think, of getting to questions in the moment, which makes me feel better because we've only got like 5 minutes left here. But if folks have additional questions, feel free to put those in the chat. And as they populate, we've also got a question for you, because as we wrap up here at the end, you'll get a prompt to take a survey. We love to know if these are useful, if they're helpful, and then what you would like to hear more about. So December, we're going to take the month off. We figure everyone has plenty to do in the church during Advent and Christmas time, so we will not take an hour of your month, but would love to know what topics would be of interest heading into 2026. So whether that's, I know Trey kind of alluded more there with Google for Nonprofits. We've had some questions come up about translation tools as we want to make things available in different languages, how churches are doing that effectively and cost efficiently. But if you have questions, topics that you think could be beneficial, we would love to hear that so that we can put together lunch and learns that will benefit you. Perfect. All right. A question that did come in the chat, and Trey, I'm going to throw this to you, but if your church website link is not showing in the Google business profile, it is showing, but not in the left-hand side of the website options, what would you recommend?
That just has to do with engagement. Katie, and you can unmute, feel free to unmute. Did you search for your actual church name?
Yes.
Okay. Let me see. Do you mind telling me what it is?
Yeah, it's St. Paul United Methodist Church Hearst.
Yeah. So the first thing I'm seeing is your Facebook profile. Is that what
Hmm.
showed for you?
That's what it shows for me too. But I don't see the website on there, which is weird because we have a website. I don't know why it doesn't populate.
How long has it been since you had the website? Has it been a while?
I mean, I've been here 3 years, so at least 5 years.
That's
Oh,
usually just an algorithm thing. So that might suggest to me that more people are visiting your Facebook than they are your website. And that could just be as simple as encouraging people to go to the website, encouraging people to use that. And I would, if I were you, I would be more concerned if my Facebook and my website weren't generating. At least you have some presence that's generating in the Google profile, but Google is all about clicks. So that tells me that Google Analytics says more people are going to your Facebook, so that's what they're going to push up first. But
okay.
that's also where you have the importance of the cross linking. Even if your Facebook is showing up, if people click that and you've got your website right there in the intro, then people can still easily have access to it to get to your website as well.
Thank you.
Of course.
Well, this has brought us right to the top of the hour. So thank you all and happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks, everyone.